What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexis. We are back yet again with another video and we're going to be predicting the first week of the Euro 2024 competition. So we're going to preview all of the first games going from Groups A all the way to Group F. So we've got 12 games to predict, so a little bit similar to what we tend to do on a full championship week. I understand that I've not been uploading a lot, so naturally it's going to be very difficult to get the same sort of level back, but I'm hoping with just a little bit more consistency, which I have got a little bit more free time this past couple of weeks, we can start building this channel back up to the level that we can get to as well. And the Euros will be a nice little break from what we are focused on, which is typically the Championship or the Premier League. So I want you guys to also predict your score predictions for the first week for Euro 2024 in the comments down below. I'll be very interested to see what you guys will be thinking as well. If you guys always see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too. It really does help. Please share the channel too and this video. All of this really does help. For like target, let's go for 25. Let's start nice and small and we can build our way up. But without any further ado, let's start predicting the first week for Euro 2024. So I'm going to be in a mad rush to get this video out on time because the Euros start today. They start today with Germany going up against Scotland. I am really excited for this game. I think we are going to see a very intriguing encounter. Germany will certainly be the favourites of this game and will be the favourites for most fixtures, not necessarily just on the squad, but for the fact that they are hosting this tournament. Now, we have seen in the last couple of Euros and a host nation doesn't win overall, but typically the hosting nation does tend to do relatively well, whether that's making a final, making a good account of itself. So I do expect Germany to be a team that will be there in this competition for a long while. Scotland have got a lot to prove. They did really well in their qualifying, and Scotland will need to do something that they've never done before in recent history, which is to qualify from a competition like this and to get to the last 16. It would be absolutely huge for a nation like Scotland if they could go through the last 16. And the fact in the Euros that the 4 best third place teams, a lot of numbers here, but the 4 best teams that finished third in the 6 groups can also still go through. Scotland could break history, and I do think their squad has got a decent amount of players with a good amount of Premier League experience, especially, which could really help them. I do think this Scot side is a little bit more matured. It's got a lot more players with experience who have played for Scotland for many years, but some really exciting ones in there as well. Germany have got experience all over. They've got Julian Nagelsmann as their manager, so this will be his first major tournament as a national team manager, but we've seen what he's been able to do already with his previous coaching career at Leipzig and Bayern Munich. As a prediction here, this is going to be tough, but I personally think we're going to see a close game, and I think it's going to be a game that Scotland will try and frustrate Germany because I think they'll know they're underdogs, but a 1-goal defeat for Scotland I actually don't think will be the end of the world. They're going to look ahead to see if they can get results against Hungary and Switzerland. Those will be the 2 games that Scotland need to look towards if they can go through. Germany, I expect them to win their group, I would imagine, unless they do collapse somewhere. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Germany. I do think it's one of those games where Scotland will frustrate them, and I do think Germany might actually go pretty comfortably and Scotland will rally forward and they'll get a consolation goal at the end of this. So I'm going to go 2-1 Germany. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So the next game to predict, we're going to go around Saturday games. So for the Saturday games, we have to start things off with the second half of Group A, which is Hungary versus Switzerland. So I'm really excited with Hungary. I really am. They've got some really good, exciting players. I don't know about their squad availability. I know there's doubts of Szoboszlai playing, so that could already make things very difficult for them. But I do think Hungary can hold their own without Szoboszlai being there. I do think if they play anything like they did recently against England, they will be a really tough team. Switzerland is going to be an interesting one. They've got some great players. I'm really going to keep my eye on Granit Xhaka, actually, because he's had a brilliant season with Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm going to be intrigued to see, can he elevate his midfield game? Because he's always been a player for me that has been a bit erratic with his performances and a bit hot cold when he was at Arsenal. So for the fact that he's been in a Bayer Leverkusen side with a double invincible record, I'm probably more or less expecting him to see if he can dominate that midfield a lot more effectively in a more consistent manner this time. So I'm intrigued of this game. I think both of these teams are going to want to get a win under their belts to give themselves a really positive start in their group. I think both of them are really, really closely matched, honestly, and both will be looking at Scotland as a result to try and get something there. Switzerland are definitely a team with the most experience compared to Hungary of getting out of the group, but if I remember right, in Euro 2016, so 2 Euros back when, because I don't think Hungary competed in Euro 2021, Hungary topped their group, and even in the World Cup, I remember very, very vividly when Hungary were in it not so long ago, they made things so intense, and I do think Hungary do bring it in group stage games. But then combating that, you've got Switzerland's side who are so consistent. They know how to get out of group stage. They've done it so many times. So this is a tough one for me. And as a prediction, I cannot make my mind up who I think will win. So as a result, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I'm going to play it safe between these two sides. And I think we'll get an entertaining game, but I'm more or less intrigued to see how both these sides set up. And quite honestly, I think with first game of like the tournament, I do think you do gain a really good first impression to see how each side is going to go on. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Let me know what you think will happen in this game in the comments down below. So now we're on to Group B. Let's go and start things off with Spain versus Croatia. So both Spain and Croatia, we know, have had so many tournaments in Euros, in the World Cup. Spain have been a side where I haven't been too impressed in their pre-season, but I think a lot of it is due to their squad being incredibly young. There's a lot of new players who are going to have their first tournament, or at least, you know, in terms of this sort of magnitude. So I do think Spain's team is a work in progress and will naturally evolve over time. And they do have some players that can really turn it on. I think of Rodri and Pedri in that midfield area. That could be really interesting there. Croatia have got a team that I think is significantly older than that Spanish team. But what it does have, which that Spanish side does not, is experience. And we've seen Croatia very recently in tournaments, you know, being able to go far. In the World Cup, they managed to do really well. I believe they made it to the finals at least, which was absolutely sensational on their part. They beat Brazil, actually, in the last World Cup to get to that quarterfinal as well. So they can dispatch really good opposition. And it's never an easy game against Croatia because of how organised they are. And there are so many players you've got to think about as well for this Croatia side. Gosh, this is tough again. Prediction, I'm going to go for another draw because I really can't back them. I do think Spain are not going to be at their strongest. Croatia will frustrate Spain like they do with every side, because I think Spain will hold a lot of the ball, but Croatia will actually look the more threatening based on when they do collect the ball and break the play out from Spain. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw again. Maybe a bit cowardly, but I just can't predict it. I can't get it. It's so close between these two sides, and quite honestly, I think we're going to have a really fun game there. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Italy versus Albania. So I feel quite bad for Albania because they've got a really tough group. I think Italy, Croatia and Spain, you know, you can't really ask for a worse, you know, amount of company to be played up against if Albania do want to go through. So that could help them with them knowing that they're going to be underdogs in this group, but at the same time, they're facing an Italy side here where they are the holders of the last Euros, of course, in devastating fashion. So they certainly will want to try and retain the Euros this year. I don't think they were particularly strong, actually, when they won the Euros. I think this year not really too much difference, I got to be honest, between those squads as well. The only thing that's changed, pretty drastically is their manager. So that could effectively change the way how they approach the tournament and how they play. But ultimately, I think Italy have got to get 3 points here, because Croatia and Spain is not going to be straightforward for them to get something. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Italy. So Albania, I think, could potentially offer something, but unfortunately, I think Italy are going to be too strong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. We've now made it to Group C. Let's go with Slovenia versus Denmark first. So, Slovenia are a side which, I gotta say, I wasn't too sure with their squad, but then looking at it, they do have some really decent players. Now, Slovenia have not been in frequent competitions of this level in their recent couple of years. The one competition I do remember them being in quite a while back, which is, quite a while back in hindsight, is the World Cup 2010, where they were also in England's group, actually. So these two sides will be meeting again, this time in a Euros competition here. And with it being nearly 15 years later, that squad has certainly changed a lot. And I do think some of the players in that squad, I think Jan Oblak is going to be one of the major players that people are going to be pointing towards. So how effective can he be in terms of keeping Slovenia in the game? But I do think that outfield players do deserve some credit too. Denmark, likewise to Switzerland, have a lot of experience of getting out of group stage in these tournaments. And I do expect them to have a little bit more quality and depth regarding most of the areas of the pitch. As a prediction, I think both of these sides are going to be really wanting a win, but I think we will get a 0-0 draw in this game. I'm a little bit suspicious with the fact that I don't think Slovenia will score many goals. Maybe they'll look really, really silly and they'll score like 3 goals here, but Denmark, likewise to Croatia, are a very, very tough team to break down. And I do think it's going to be one of those games where I think both these sides are going to be a little bit rusty, and it's going to need to, a second game is going to be required for these sides to play at their best. So I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw, and we could see a couple of those. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now it's the big one, Serbia versus England. So let's predict this one. Serbia certainly have got some great players. England going into this tournament, I don't know how I feel. And actually, when England have actually played well with their form in previous tournaments, actually, they've typically not played at that similar level. And actually, historically, England play a little bit better where they actually don't have a pretty good build-up going into the tournament, because they switch on when the big competition starts. And I'm just hoping and praying that's going to be the case. I don't want England to be one of the main examples of one of the big sides getting knocked out in the group stage, because it can certainly happen. I feel like every Euros and World Cup in the last couple of years or so has never failed to throw one shock you think, what? And certainly England could be one of those sides if they do not perform anywhere different to what they have done recently. As a prediction, I think it's going to be very, very nerve-wracking. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to England. It's going to be very, very intense, but I think England might hold out, and I actually do think they will concede. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet against Serbia. I've got some good players along the striker position especially, so I do think they could get a goal, but I think England might have enough. But honestly, I'm going to be very apprehensive. I need to see how they play in this first game to give me any confidence if they could win the tournament. Regardless, it sounds like that Gareth Southgate is looking like that he's going to move on as England manager, especially if he doesn't win this tournament. So I'm really hoping the players rally together, because they look like they've got a great relationship with Gareth Southgate. If it's going to take that for the players to do well, then so be it. I'm going to go 2-1 England against Serbia. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now made it to the second half of the group stage. So now we are within Group D. So let's start things off with the first game that they are going to be playing, which I believe is Poland versus Netherlands. Intriguing game, I think. Poland have got some decent experience playing at the Euros or a World Cup. Netherlands, I'm really pleased that they are given this opportunity. Now, I do remember actually within the World Cup, there was a lot of frustration boiling around the Netherlands side. I seem to remember one of the games where De Ligt got sent off, which one of their group games just kind of, got away from them. And it's some of these moments like that if they do not iron out and they do not remain professional, then I think it could be really tough on Netherlands here. Poland, I think, was set out to be quite frustrating and annoying to break down. I think Netherlands will be the slight favourites of this match. They'll be looking at this thinking, okay, if they could pick up 3 points here, because I do think Poland are going to be one of those sides which they could potentially disrupt either Netherlands or France or getting 3 points here. If Netherlands can start this group well and get those 3 points, and they do play 1 day earlier, I believe, compared to the other two sides in this group with France and Austria. So psychologically, that can give them a good boost compared to France or Austria. As a prediction, that's a really good question that I predict for this game. I'm going to go 2-0 Netherlands, but again, Poland have got a lot of experience of making things very frustrating for a side, so I wouldn't be surprised if Poland do get something, but I'm going to go for a Netherlands 2-0 win. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So now we've got to predict the other game regarding Group D, and that is Austria versus France. So both games are separated by 1 day. So to reiterate my point, if one of the Netherlands and Poland win, psychologically they'll give them a big boost and it'll put a lot of pressure on France and Austria to get something. Now, I'm thinking more or less the pressure is going to be mounted. If Netherlands win, the pressure will be really on France. Now, France, I think, are a favourite for most tournaments. Of course, they won the 2018 World Cup, of course, and they are a side which I do believe are going to be very difficult to stop. It took a penalty shootout for them to be stopped in the last Euros against Switzerland in the end. So it's going to take something spectacular. Austria certainly do have a couple of talented players too, but I just think France's squad is so packed for the quality, and I do think the players in that squad are so experienced now, it's going to be very difficult to stop. As a prediction here, I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to France. I think they could win relatively comfortably here. This could be my most comfortable win so far. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments down below. We made it to the penultimate group now in Group E. So I think the first game to predict from that is Romania versus Ukraine. I think Romania are facing a pretty similar scenario to Albania because they've not got a particularly nice group. They've got Belgium, Ukraine, and of course, guarding the other team in their group, they've got Slovakia as well, which, maybe not as tough as Albania in hindsight, but I do think it's actually pretty underrated side. So I do think Romania are going to have it very difficult. They certainly do have 1 or 2 great players. Ukraine, I think, are going to be really competitive, like they do tend to be in most tournaments. It is absolutely crazy for me to think that this is going to be their first major competition since obviously things got really bad for them. So I think a lot of us are going to be rooting for Ukraine to do well and to do their country as proud as they are already doing so. And I do think, based on what I saw of them quite recently, I do think they have a really good core squad about them. Prediction here, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Ukraine. I think Romania will make it very competitive. I do think Romania is going to be one of those teams I'm not so certain what to expect from this, but I do think Ukraine, with their experience in these competitions, they should get the job done here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So the next game regarding this group is Belgium versus Slovakia. Can Belgium impress in this tournament? So Belgium in the past tend to be pretty hot and cold with their success in tournaments. I remember Euro 2016, they got knocked out by Wales, which wasn't particularly a great look for them. Then, of course, in the World Cup, we saw them do really, really well, actually beating England in terms of the third place position there as well. Then last World Cup, they don't even qualify at all. So it is very, very unpredictable. But again, likewise with Italy, they've got a brand new manager in charge. So is that going to change things regarding the setup and regarding the performances and the mentality? We're just going to have to wait and see. Slovakia do frequently appear in these competitions, typically finishing around the third and the fourth position, actually. And I wouldn't be surprised if they finish around that area again. But they do have some great players too. And I do think this is going to be a competitive game. I think quite an open game. I don't see Slovakia being a side just going to try and grind for the draw. I do see Slovakia trying to pick up 3 points here and being quite fearless. As a prediction, this is tough actually. I would not be too shocked if Belgium drop points here actually. You know what, let's predict a shock. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. It's not as shocking as, you know, me predicting Slovakia to win by 2-1, for instance, but I'm going to throw a couple of results in that we may think, oh, I did not expect that. And I guarantee I don't think everyone's going to be predicting Belgium not to win. But I don't know, in these tournaments, Belgium don't really impress me too much in a consistent basis. So I'm going to go for a draw and back Slovakia to get something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. We've only got 2 games to predict, and it's within the final 2 games within the final group. Let's go on with Turkey versus Georgia first. These 2 sides need 3 points in this match. Not both of them can get it, and whichever one can get 3 points here, give such a big advantage. Both of them will be looking to try and get into second and maybe third based on results as well. But to do that, they need to get 3 points from this game and look to try and get something against Czechia, because I think Portugal's squad this year has got so much depth and quality. They are going to be a very scary team, and I do think it's going to be a really, really fun competition there. I'm going to be intrigued to see how Ronaldo plays with him having a season in the Saudi League. I think Bruno Fernandes is always going to be a really thriving player regarding these tournaments as well. They've got options everywhere, Portugal, and I do expect them to go maybe not all the way, but I do think they'll go really, really far. But going back to Turkey versus Georgia, Georgia qualifying has been a bit of a minor miracle. You know, they've not been in the Euros for quite a while now. And they are facing a Turkey side who are certainly more frequent appearers in this tournament. But a lot of the time, Turkey is a side where they promise a lot and they don't deliver. And their qualifying says the same thing. Their qualifying was sensational, actually. But I don't know. I'm a bit apprehensive with it. But as a prediction, I'm going to go for a very tight, cagey 1-0 win to Turkey. I think Turkey might hold on for a win here. And that will really be devastating for Georgia, because I see this as Georgia's most winnable game in this competition. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Finally, it is Portugal versus Czechia. So, bit of context for you guys. I've done a work sweepstake and I got Czechia. Nearly got Turkey, but I got Czechia right in the last minute. I am not too upset with it because, I mean, when I did the World Cup 2 years ago, I got Qatar, which they were literally the first team to get knocked out in their own backyard. Actually, what I did see in the last Euros, Patrick Schick, of course, was the top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer with Cristiano Ronaldo, who's going to likely feature in this Portugal side. And I really do think they do have some good players. They do have good players. And Czechia are a side that sometimes a bit touch and go whether they qualify or they don't. I do think based on the strength of quality of their squad this year, I think they will have enough to at least qualify, if not second or third. But I think this game against Portugal is going to be very tough. As a prediction, I think Portugal might actually have a good start in this tournament. And I'm going to go for a 4-0 victory to Portugal. Something's giving me a good idea that Portugal may start well, but then it's a question, will they run out of steam? They had a very similar routine actually going into the World Cup 2 years ago, where they actually were playing relatively well for most of the tournament, but then they faced Morocco, a side which they should be beating, and then they lose out to them. So I think it's going to be one of those tournaments again for Portugal. So that will be my prediction for that game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, these are my 12 predictions for the first round of Euro 2024 matches. Let me know what you think of those predictions in the comments down below, and please share your predictions as well. I'll be very interested to see the similarities and differences here. So I think that's going to wrap it up. So this will be appearing somewhat weekly, maybe not quite exactly weekly, but I will be making these videos throughout the tournament. There may be the odd stream coming up very, very soon as well. Depends how much time I've got. So again, so much content is going to this channel, and I'm going to try and revive it to the best way that I can. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button, it really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please share the channel and this video as well. All of these things really do help. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for so many of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.